Hello, gorgeous, and a warm welcome to Accepting. In this episode with Cleo, we are going to be diving into accepting perimenopause or menopause or both with the retrogrades. So grab yourself a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's dive in. Welcome to Accepting, where I guide you to accept all aspects of your beautiful self. Embrace your truth and live your life that way. Hi, gorgeous. Welcome to Accepting. I'm Aline. I'm a mindset coach, an acceptance coach, a crazy cat lady, for those of you who can see this, a mentor, and a channel. And I love to see highly sensitive people and empaths in all walks of life flourish. Now, this episode may feel very, very specific. I do try to keep them normally very, very general. And I was feeling into this the other day of being a 48-year-old woman and going through the perimenopause and how much I don't talk about it. And I don't think I've even said the word period ever. This is the first time on any kind of podcast, on any kind of social media lives or any social media post. I have never mentioned it. And I started feeling into, why have I never mentioned this? I don't know the exact statistics at the moment, but pretty much half of us, of the population, are going to experience a period and or perimenopause in our lives. So why don't we talk about it? And this is why I'm talking about it today, because I'm not talking about it from a scientific point of view, because I don't understand all the science of it. There is so much about it. There's so much about hormones, and we all, in my opinion, we have our own personal journey with it. I'm talking about it from my point of view as a 48-year-old, empathetic, intuitive witch. Okay, so this is where this is coming from today. And although it's very, very specific, I really hope this is going to resonate with women who are going through this. I really hope this might even help if there's any partners out there and their partners are going through perimenopause at the moment and they'd like to understand it a little bit more, the emotional side of it. And I really hope this is going to help. I don't know how it works with the science of those who identify as men who've been born as women. I don't know how that works. And perhaps this will help you as well. So the whole idea is, this is just purely from a personal point of view. Purely from a personal point of view. There may be some channeling coming through. There may be some messages and insights that I get to share. What I felt, and I've been really feeling into, is, we're talking about authenticity. We're talking about accepting. I am a 48-year-old. Let's try that again. I am a 48-year-old woman. Yes, 48. I know. I keep saying that to myself. Really? I'm a 48-year-old woman. And I am experiencing perimenopause. And what happened the other day was I was speaking to a family member, and at some point we're going to be driving back. I say, Cleo, she's on my lap at the moment. And they are wishing to arrange a lunch when I get back. And when we get back, Cleo won't be in the restaurant. Well, not this one anyway. And they said to me, oh, well, you'll have a couple of days. That'll be enough for you to recover from your drive. And I just agreed. And then afterwards I thought, 2 days to recover after a 3-day journey for the person that I am, driving for 3 days, in and out of different environments. I'm an empath. I'm a highly intuitive person. I've been diagnosed with various things, which I've spoken about before, central sensitivity syndrome. So I have to really look after my energy. And I thought to myself, 2 days, that is not enough before I then go out in public again. And what struck me was how much as women we can go, oh, right, okay, yes. And even as a strong, independent woman, I fell into that. And this isn't about burn our bras and all the rest of it. I'm just noticing where I gave that power and that energy away. So what I really wanted to talk about in this episode was about working with the power of the perimenopause and working with the power of the retrogrades, because it's so easy for us to ignore it, because society, well, certainly for me, since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I didn't really have a huge conversation about periods, emotions, rage. I didn't have any of those conversations. And it was all very, and it was all very, very secret. And this isn't anything, it's absolutely no judgment at all. I had a perfectly good conversation that I don't really remember. To be perfectly honest, I know I had conversations about periods. I didn't have conversations about PMT. I didn't have conversations about the waves of women. I didn't have conversations about how we're not the same emotion throughout the whole of the month. I never had any of those conversations. And it's only now, looking back and navigating the perimenopause, that I kind of feel, well, we didn't have anything like that. So I wonder if there's anybody out there who is feeling, from just getting on with it, that actually there's an awful lot more feeling that goes into this. And I feel it's so important to address that. So even as I'm sat here, this may be kind of swaying in and out, because I don't know actually what direction this is going to go in. Because there's an element of being so outside of my comfort zone, because I've never spoken about this, ever, 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 ever. So for me to sit here and to talk to you about cycles and perimenopause and emotions and hormones is so out of my comfort zone. I even, when I'm talking to friends, say, I've got my moon time, I've got my lady time. It's very seldom that I will say period. And I realized this the other day when I was leaving a message for a wonderful friend of mine. I just said the word and I thought, oh, I just said it. And I left a voice message about it. And then it was that whole, why? Why is it such a difficult word to say? Why is it such a taboo word when there's so much going on in the world? Why can't we say period? Because at least half the population has one at some point in their life. So this is what this conversation is going to be about today. And what I'm really feeling is, I'm recording this on the 3rd of March. And we have gone into Venus in retrograde as I'm recording this. And we've just come out of Mars in retrograde, and she's gone direct. So we've had that opportunity of being inside with Cancer, with Mars in Cancer in retrograde. And now we've got the opportunity with Venus. And for me, what's massively coming up is, again, it's being completely honest with ourselves. Completely honest with ourselves. What is actually going on for me? And we can very much show up in this I'm fine, Pollyanna energy, which is no good for anybody. And it's about being really, really, really real with ourselves. I've mentioned before that I have a temper. And many people, I didn't realize this until it was explained to me by one of my amazing spiritual mentors, Christopher Perry. I didn't realize that many people who have psychic abilities also can have a temper. And I can go from 0 to 0. And it used to be that it would take a long, 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 long time. And it would be that tiny, tiny little thing that would go. And people were shocked. They were shocked that I had a temper. Because I was usually the diplomat, I was the mediator, I was the one to calm the waters. And that was instilled in me from a very, very young age, because I realized as an empath, and I realized this unconsciously, and again, I've spoken about this before, I realized that for me to feel okay, everybody else around me had to feel okay, because I was feeling so much. And again, I'm going to quote my mentor, Christos T. Perry again. Empaths are not born. We are not born as empaths. We learn this ability when we're younger, through stresses, through trauma, through misunderstandings, through unhealthy environments. We learn this. And it's not necessarily, and I'm going to speak from a personal point of view, because there is no judgment. From my point of view, I had a various amount of gifts that were trying to push through, and they weren't understood. And so then I realized, because I was seeing, feeling, hearing, and I couldn't tell you when, what, how, I just know there were various moments where I felt something or I saw something and it wasn't accepted. And then I started pushing it down. And so what then happened was I started working as an empath, and I started changing my persona to fit in and be the good girl, to be the one that everybody liked. So I would fit in and feel comfortable. So when we fast forward that to 48 years down the track, and 8 years ago, I had my accident. 8 years ago, I was in the most wonderful, beautiful shamanic ceremony with my incredible mentors, Foster Perry and Christos T. Perry. And I said in that shamanic ceremony on the Saturday night of the spring equinox, my intention is to live my most authentic life. And what happened that night was, I thought it was a wonderful idea to walk down some slippery steps in the rain in the mountain. And I slipped. I did like a pike kind of thing, fell on my backside. I was plonked on my backside. And then everything changed from there. I was physically, metaphorically, literally, spiritually, everything smacked on my backside so I could have a really, really real look and have a really honest conversation with myself. And this is why I help others, because the past 8 years have not been easy. I have been navigating that whole trying to cling on to who everybody else wants me to be, whilst pushing out who I truly am. And also, because I've been in that comfort zone with those mask personas, etc., so forth, it has been a real, I'm just going to say it, struggle to bring out my authentic self, because I've built up all these walls. I've built up all of these limiting beliefs that everybody else told me who I am, and I believed it. So that's why I'm doing this podcast. And as much as when I am in the zone and feeling into the guidance, feeling into the guided journeys, I feel it's so important to be real. Yes, that is absolutely me as well. Absolutely. We're not all one thing. That is me when I'm in my grounded, centered, in flow with the universe state. And it's wonderful and it feels amazing. What is also so important for me, and I'm just at the end of my current my current period. There you go. I nearly didn't say it again. I'm at the end of my current period in perimenopause, and she's very much matching up with the moon cycle, so I don't quite know when it's going to be. And this one was with the new moon. So for me, the new moon is all about rebirth and new beginnings and really feeling into what works for us and inviting that in. And the last 3 days, the first 3 days of the new moon is when that's at the most powerful. So we really, really work with that energy. And I'm going to do an episode all about how to work with the new moon. I'm going to keep it on perimenopause at the moment. So with perimenopause, it's an end of a cycle. So this year is the 9 year. 2025 is in 9 year and is also the Chinese year of the wood snake. And with a 9 year, and again, I have done a whole episode about this as well, so please go back and listen to that if you wish. With a 9 year, it's all about cycles, ending cycles. It's all about closing what doesn't work for us anymore. It's all about saying, that's enough. I don't accept that anymore. And really feeling into what vibrates with me, what energetically vibrates with me in my life. And this can be people, places, things. This can also be beliefs. And this is one of the things that I'm massively passionate about, is working through beliefs that we've built from when we were knee-high to a grasshopper. And for those who don't understand that, that expression, I use that quite a lot. From when we were children, basically. From when we were children. So where we've accepted beliefs of others and we've taken on beliefs of others. And I also found something out really, really interestingly in the last couple of weeks. And again, I'm not a scientist. This is what I read and what I looked at, is when we are formed as the embryo, the DNA of both of our parents goes into us. What also goes into us is their thoughts and fears. So when we talk about on a spiritual basis, I'm here to stop generational trauma, is very scientific as well. Because not only does our parents' DNA, thoughts, fears, etc., go into us, there's a ripple effect from all of the generations before. So, for example, in my generation, I've worked with alcoholism from way back. I've worked with alcoholism. I've worked with mental health because there was a member of my family down the line who suffered from a severe mental health situation. And I'm not going to go into all of it. I'm just saying that when we look at who we are and we look at the experiences of our lives, and if we look at certain times and dates, I would invite you, if you know who your biological parents are, to see if there is any connection with anything that's happened with you at a certain year, or a year of your life, or a certain date. Because it's very likely, my gorgeous, that when something's happened to you, there's a generational trauma pattern that is repeating that. And it is up to us to say, enough is enough. And with perimenopause, because it's an end of a cycle, because it's going into like really being honest and authentic with ourselves, because we do, with perimenopause, we're feeling, from my point of view, we are feeling so much. We are seeing the reality of the situation. We're not showing up in good girl, please accept me. We're showing up with, do you know what? I don't give a monkeys if you accept me or not. That's up to you. Because our hormones are all over the place in the nicest possible way. And we're navigating that. So we're concentrating so much on just getting up in the morning and feeling ourselves on an even keel that actually we get to the point where we don't give a monkeys what anybody thinks of us. And when somebody calls us difficult, that's a bloody massive compliment. I remember maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I first moved, after my accident, I moved to be with family in the Caliph province, and there was this man that kept trying to put his hand on my back, and I just said, "Don't, please don't do that." And then I heard that he called me difficult. Now, if I'm difficult by saying, "Please don't put your hand on my body," then I'm really happy to be difficult. And then I started looking at this person, and he did it with pretty much every single woman. And none of them said, "Please don't do that." Apart from, well, they might have done, because I wasn't in the area all the time. I just watched afterwards. And there was a specific place that he wanted to put his hand. And I know energetically why that was. Now, how interesting is that? I could visually see the women feeling uncomfortable. I have since had conversations about this. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. What I'm saying is, it's so interesting as society that we are brought up in this show up presentable, to be liked and to be smiling and to always be okay and to accept physically what's going on around us. I know in Spain it's very, very touchy-feely. Absolutely. This isn't what this was about. So, and it wasn't just Spanish women. Obviously, I'm a British woman. I'm not sure why this is coming up. It's coming up. So I would say, my gorgeous, if you are at a point and you're in an uncomfortable situation and something does make you feel uncomfortable, you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to say, "Could you please step back a little bit?" Or you can physically step yourself back. And if that person starts moving forward, then you can say, "Actually, could you step back a little bit?" In whatever environment you're in. Because we are so conditioned, it's instilled in us from, again, knee-high to grasshopper, that's my expression, from childhood, to accept that when there's elders or there's people who are above us, so as women, men, that we allow them to be in our space. We allow them to put their arms around our shoulders without asking. And I know it's changing a lot. This is just coming up for me to say. Because if there's a work environment you're in, if there's a social environment you're in, it is okay to say, "Please don't touch me," especially as empaths. Because as we're feeling so much, imagine somebody putting their hand on you without you inviting them to, or "It's okay." That then happens. And actually, this happened to me in Paris a couple of days ago. It was a woman who did it. And I didn't say anything. It was only afterwards I thought, "Oh, that's why I was feeling that." So anyway, that's just a little slight digression. So it's really important that we notice what's happening. So what I've decided to do is I have created, and I'm writing the musings of a perimenopausal empathetic witch. And I've joined this really beautiful website that actually years ago I was given the information for, and then I never did anything about it. And it's come up again, and it's supporting writers as you're writing yourself. So it's, a double win. So what I'm going to be doing is sharing things. And I just felt this episode, just to be really, really honest about, yes, it's wonderful that when we're in that centered, channeled flow state, absolutely. What happens when we're out of it? How can we get ourselves back in? So this is what I would like to talk about. And it was really important to talk about all of that beforehand, before we get to this point. So I talk about daily practice. I talk about self-care. I talk about inner work. I talk about outer work. When we are in a situation, and say perimenopause, for example, and we're having our period, and this is what happened to me the other day. So I had the most beautiful opportunity to go to Paris for the day. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful opportunity. So as I was preparing, I started feeling the ovaries having a little chat with me. I was thinking, uh-oh. And I was told many, many years ago, when it's my period, even now, it's like really difficult to kind of say it smoothly. When it's my period, that it's really important for me to rest and not do anything. And, years and years and years ago, women were honored. There were tents where women who were having their period, it's the most beautiful creative time to receive creative insights and to really go inside. They were given a tent to go and be honored and be in their space on their own. And obviously in this society, it's completely different. It's, crack on, scrub the floors, go to work, do whatever needs to be done, have a paracetamol, whatever works for you, ibuprofen, I don't know. I don't do chemicals. And get on with it. So what I was really feeling in this episode is to get to the point where you're actually putting yourself first in perimenopause and always. And perimenopause gives us that opportunity because, as I said a minute ago, we're in that space where we're navigating what's going on. So the idea of showing up in Pollyanna on top of navigating everything else is just like, I haven't got the capacity for this. So imagine if we started with perimenopause, how brilliant would that be? It's like the Benjamin Button. Imagine if we started with perimenopause, how brilliant would that be? It's like, I haven't got the capacity for this. I just need to focus on myself. And we went back, and that's how we went on our journey. And then we have babies at 50, 60 years old. How interesting would that be with all the wisdom and all of the life experience? So anyway, so with the perimenopause and accepting perimenopause with the retrogrades, Mercury is going to go retrograde on the 15th of March, around about that time. Venus is in retrograde until the 16th. So working with those two together, Mercury is about communication. So we're going inside, we can start communicating with ourselves. Venus is about wealth and love. You can go inside and really start focusing, okay, what needs some attention in my life with my wealth? What needs some attention in life with my love, self-love? What am I going to accept around me? And it's interesting, I said intention rather than attention, because the intention is really important. We're going in with that. My intention is to live my most authentic life like I did 8 years ago. In fact, it's coming up. It's going to be 9 years this year. It's 9 years this year. It's on the 18th of March. So it's interesting. I'm talking about this. No such thing as coincidences. So it's interesting I'm talking about this now because this will go out, well, tomorrow. And then in a couple of weeks' time, we've got the spring equinox. So this just felt to be like a really honest musings, and you may say ramblings of a perimenopausal empathetic witch, which perhaps it is. And I do feel sometimes it's really important that we just allow ourselves to do this. So this might not even go out. I might not even record. This might just be just Dear Diary. So what happened to me going to Paris, I've actually written about that. And when we've got these retrogrades going on, and with all that's going on in the world as well, it's not great. We know that. It's not great. And many of us, and if you're listening to this, is likely you as well, many of us have come here to help with the change. So as much as I'm showing up and I'm channeling and I'm sharing what works with me, I feel so deeply it's really important that you see all sides of me. So you can see the grumpy bugger. You can see the grumpy element. You can see I'm not going to necessarily show myself flaring into temper. It's just acknowledging that we're not just one thing. And with perimenopause, that allows us to start really feeling into all of those aspects. And that's when our shadow self comes up. And the other day, the same conversation with the person who said to me, oh, well, you've just got, have a couple of days and that'll be enough for you you'll be okay to then go out and do this thing that I want you to do. They also said to me, is there any point? Is there any point in you doing these podcasts? Is there any point in you doing the work that you're doing? And that is one of my shadows. So what you might find is when you're really exploring with perimenopause, because it does allow us to go deep and to greet our shadows. And greeting our shadows, and I call it greeting our shadows because it's so important to accept all aspects of ourselves, as I said. And that's not just all the divine feminine of, feeling into the beautiful, nurturing goddess and being outside with our hands in the soil and feeling that gorgeous nurturing in our hands. That is also going really deep, and all of those shadows that we've pushed down. So, for example, my temper, all of those shadows that we push down, allow them to start coming up. Because when we work with them, when we acknowledge that they're there, we can start channeling and working with them. So my shadow, one of my shadows is, what's the point? Another one of my shadows is, oh, have I done something wrong? Maybe I should have done it in a different way. And I will go through and through and through and through and through and think of all the scenarios of how it might have been better before I get to the point of, well, you can't change it, so should we just crack on? So they're two of mine, and I'm learning more and more and more and more what my shadows are. I'm not going to call my temper a shadow because it is a gift, because I am very protective. And if anybody goes after my family or my friends, you may not necessarily see it. It's there. I am very protective, and my temper will show when I feel and I know somebody is lying to my face or to others. I am all about the truth and I cannot bear lies. Okay? So that is taking my temper, which is not a shadow, it's an element of me. That is taking my temper and using it for the good. I'm hugely passionate about stopping battery farming. I'm hugely passionate about, well, let's just be honest about what's really going on in the dairy industry. I'm hugely passionate about people showing up as something and they're pretending they're holier than thou and gurus when they're actually false teachers, and what's really going on in the background. I'm hugely passionate about revealing false teachers. And they're things that I'm really, really passionate about. And it's really interesting the false teacher came up, because one of the things my incredible mentors, we had an amazing conversation, an amazing podcast episode, was Foster Perry was talking about how there's going to be more false teachers coming up. So this is in general, particularly with perimenopause, we're really feeling into intuition and we're really working on ourselves and we're really feeling what feels right for us. When any new teacher comes into your life, if there is a slight niggle, something feels slightly off, listen to that. Even if everybody around you said how wonderful, amazing, fantastic they are, or everything you've read about them is amazing, fantastic, and wonderful, if there's a little flicker of something doesn't feel quite right, that is your instinct, that is your intuition, that is your beautiful, beautiful self, inner self, saying to you, So really, really, really listen to that. So the perimenopause and retrogrades really allows us to get in touch with our instincts, really allows us to get in touch with our intuition, to listen from here, to listen from our stomachs, to listen from our hearts, to listen here, to feel it, not just nod our heads and agree. And especially with everything that's going on in the world, because there's so many things that are now being seen and hidden because the world is changing so much, because we're going so much more to the divine feminine. Anything that is lies, anything that has been deceiving people is being shown. And when anything is starting to be uncovered that is deceiving people, that is when whatever that is, thing, person, place, will start fighting and will start pushing all out there not to be uncovered, not to be revealed. So this is when we see all these societal changes of shame, of trying to shame people, of trying to shame diversity, of trying to shame transgender, of trying to shame the hormonal cycle. This is when it all comes up because they're scared. And they're scared because they know it's crumbling. They're scared because they know they're starting to be seen through. And the truth is really, really coming up now. So as much as it feels like a scary situation, keep going inside. Keep going. And this is with perimenopause, menopause, or without. If you were born a man and now identify as a woman, then go inside. If you were born a woman and now identify as a man, go inside. If you were born a woman and identify as a woman, go inside. If you were born a man and identify as a man, go inside. This isn't just about perimenopause. This is about identifying the truth. This is identifying your truth. So we're getting to a point of, I called it accepting, because we get to a point of, well, actually, I won't accept this. I will accept this. I won't accept this. I will accept this. And when we do this individually for ourselves, and we know the truth of what we will accept, we know the truth of what we won't accept, our instincts go up, our intuition goes up, our vibrations go up, and we start inviting the people coming into our lives on the same vibration. And that's when we can start creating communities. That's when we can start really working together in an authentic and honest way. And we can start saying, no, that's not right. That's not okay. It's only when we work on ourselves first that we can then start really working together honestly and authentically as a community. And it doesn't mean showing up in false happiness. It means showing up as who we truly are. So if we're feeling a bit fed up or something's bothering us, we say that. We express ourselves, and we express ourselves in such a way that it's not going to hurt anybody else who is equally trying to navigate themselves and their truth. We accept that we're human. We accept that there's going to be moments where we might not quite have been at our best. And all we can do is acknowledge it and apologize and take accountability for it. Rather than coming up with lots of different excuses, we can just say, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And that's a very beautiful thing to do for yourself as well. So the reason this is coming up so strongly is because it is so important that we have compassion and kindness for ourselves and others. Because as we're going through these changes, as we're going through, well, what is my truth? What will I accept? There might be some little outbursts. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, my gorgeous. There might be some little outbursts that have been bursting to come up because they can't be suppressed anymore. And if you can be on your own when these come up and scream into the earth, that's a brilliant one to do, actually. This was taught to me by my incredible spiritual mentor, Ross Perry. Dig a hole in the earth and then scream everything into it, just get it all out. That's a great way to do it as well. If you're in a situation and you're going through hormonal changes and something comes up and you act in a certain way, accept that you did that. You know, we're human, we're here for an experience, and you can apologize to the people afterwards. The main thing is that you accept that you were in that situation and you were acting authentically. And that's really important. And if words come out in the wrong way, you can also acknowledge and be accountable for that as well. Because as we're navigating the perimenopause, when, you know, we're navigating the hormones and we're navigating as empaths, we're feeling all the changes in the world. We can also, if we're extremely tired, because we're bleeding, because we're losing a lot of blood, because we're losing iron, and it can be a really exhausting process, let's just be honest. Sometimes when we're really tired and we haven't properly looked after ourselves, it can come out in another way because we're just tired and we can't be bothered with it. So just allow yourself if that's happened, and then you can, if you feel that if it makes sense, to be accountable and to apologize to the people afterwards if that feels right for you. It might have been actually it's what they really needed to hear as well. It might have been a moment of truth that just came out and you just went, rah. And that was the shock of the truth that they needed to hear. So this is a really, really long episode, and I'm going to call it the musings today of a perimenopausal empathetic witch, because this has been musings, and it's really important that we allow ourselves musings, because within it, little gems can come through. Within it, there's exploration. Within it, there's the uncovering, there's the unpeeling. There's the peeling off of layers. There's the peeling off of what doesn't serve us. There's the peeling off of who we truly are. And as much as I'm going to edit this episode, I am also going to be sharing clips of this episode which feel really relevant at the moment as well. So thank you for listening to the musings. I really feel this is really important, just to share and be honest and authentic. And there are so many other episodes where I'm channeling and feeling into what really works for us. I'm channeling and feeling what really works for us from a very, very earth point of view, from a very, very hormonal point of view, from a very, very tired, if you like, point of view, because I am tired of pretending. I am tired of pushing through. I am tired of not listening to my body. I am tired of pretending everything's okay when it's not. And I feel so many of us are feeling this. I feel so many of us inside are going, I'm tired of the perimenopause. I'm tired of not knowing what my moods are going to be. I'm tired of losing all this blood. I'm tired of not knowing when my next cycle is. I'm tired of not being able to have anybody to express what I'm really feeling to. And I allow myself to be tired. And I'm going to go in, and this happened to me yesterday, I'm going to go in and I'm going to connect with my inner goddess. And when I did this yesterday, I thought I'm going to be, I'll be oils and bathing and whatever needs to be done. Do you know what I did? I went outside. I got a couple of chairs. I did my gratitude ritual. I got the chairs. I got a cozy blanket around me, and I just lay. And I had like kind of hiking gear on. I didn't go hiking, had kind of hiking gear on. I lay a blanket around me. I lay in the sun, and then I started putting my hands in the earth, and then I started planting seeds. I started planting basil seeds with intentions, with love, with clarity, with connection. I started connecting really beautifully with the earth. And that was my goddess moment, was connecting with the earth. So we're here on earth. There's a whole lot of changes going on. And this is why, I talk about grounding so much. One of the most beautiful ways we can ground is just having the earth in our hands. It's an amazing way to ground. And I was reminded that of yesterday. I've been recording, I've been writing, I've been preparing a beautiful course that is out now called the 22 Pathway to Self-Love. And it's brilliant for perimenopausal women. It's brilliant for everybody because we're really getting in touch with who we are. We're really authentically taking time and being really honest with ourselves and really working on ourselves every single day for 22 days. And it's gorgeous. And I'm going through it again at the moment as well, because it's so important before we show up as a collective, as a community, and we start saying, this is not okay, this is not true, that we work on that within ourselves first. All right? So thank you so much for joining me, my gorgeous. Do get in touch with me if you would like the 22-day Pathway to Self-Love. It's fabulous. I'm going to put the link in here and you can get instant access to that. There's 50% off for this whole month. So brilliant opportunity to get it now. Start it on a Friday morning, get up half an hour earlier and dive in. It is gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Because you're working with that divine feminine energy and then you're working with the masculine energy. So there's a balance and you're grounding that in that beautiful affirmation that we work with every day with a gorgeous meditation that gets you in a calm, centered space. All right. So little recap. Be you. Allow, if you're in the perimenopause or if you're listening to the perimenopause, I hope this has given you a little bit of an insight. So with the perimenopause and the retrogrades, really, really go deep and start working with your shadows, start working with your hormones, have a chat with your body. What's this hormone trying to tell me? What's this emotion trying to tell me? What's this here going on? What's going on in my body here? What are my ovaries talking to me about? What's my womb saying? And have a real chat, really go in, because absolutely when we do inner work, it's beautiful to go high and to go into different imaginary worlds. This time, I would really invite you to go in and actually speak with your body. In fact, in the next episode, I'm going to take you through a journey where you're going to be speaking and you're going in and you're talking as a perimenopausal woman to your body, because that's where I'm going to come from with the intention of the meditation. All right. So much love, my gorgeous. Keep being your fabulous, beautiful self. Remember, you do not have to accept everything. Remember to accept what vibrates with you. Remember to accept what is kind, compassionate, and respectful. And that includes the way you talk to yourself as well. All right. So much love. See you next time. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Accepting. Please do stay tuned for future episodes and also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If there's anything at all that you'd like me to cover in future episodes, please get in touch and let me know. You can also follow me on Instagram at The Acceptance Coach and on TikTok at Solution Union 99. And if you'd like to have any coaching at all, or you would like to discuss this, do book an expansion call. For now, I'm your host, Aline, and to your self-acceptance, gorgeous, with so much love.